Okay, so we just looked at a problem that was dealing with the population of a colony of mosquitoes, right? If you notice the first line, it said that this particular colony of mosquitoes obeys the law of uninhibited growth. So we have a growth model, don't we? So the very first thing we should write down is that generic formula. Now I'm going to tell you, some authors of the book use different variables than what I have written here. The point is, it's the exact same format, so just understand that, okay? Okay, so then they ask us, or then they say, if there are 1,000 mosquitoes initially, so initially means what? Yeah, it's that variable p sub 0, isn't it? So we have initially 1,000 mosquitoes. And then they say there are 1,200 after 1 day, right? And then they want to know the size of the colony after 2 days. So here's the deal. In order to answer their question, which is what's the size of the colony after 2 days, I need a formula, don't I? Okay. So in order to come up with a formula, there are always 2 things you need to know. Always 2 things you need to know to come up with the specific formula. I need to know the initial amount of mosquitoes, and I need to know the rate. I need to know K, which they didn't tell me. They did not tell me the rate. These are the 2 items that I need to know to come up with that specific formula. So, I got 1 out of the 2, which means I need to find K, don't I? Now, they did give me one other piece of information, didn't they? They told me that we had 1,200 mosquitoes after, that's right, 1 day. So, what do you think the 1,200 mosquitoes represents? What do you think the 1 day represents? That's right. The 1 day is your T. That's your time, isn't it? The 1,200 mosquitoes at the end of 1 day? Yeah, that's your ending amount, isn't it? That's just the P, isn't it? Which means I can start writing 1,200 equals P sub 0, which we already know is 1,000, times E to the K, which is what I'm looking for, times T, which is 1. So it looks like 1K. Cool? All right, now it's time to start solving. So, nothing more than algebra. I'm going to divide both sides by the 1,000, so I end up with 1.2 equals E to the K. And we got to get rid of that E, don't we? Remember what we got to do? Yeah, to get rid of the exponential, you got to take the log with the exact same base. That's the only way they cancel. Take the log with the exact same base, which means I'm going to take log base E on both sides. And some of you still need to write that, and some of you don't. You know who you are. So what you're telling me is a natural log of 1.2 is equal to K. Now, you can punch that into your calculator, and you'll see that that's a positive number. I'm not going to punch it in because I need my final answer to be very exact. And they didn't say anything about rounding in the middle. Sometimes they'll say, hey, use intermediate values, which means round in the middle. They didn't say that. They said round at the end. Remember that. So I'm not going to use the decimal form of this natural log of 1.2. So here's what you just told me. You just found the specific formula for this problem. The specific formula for this problem looks like P is equal to the initial amount times E raised to the time multiplied by K, which was natural log of 1.2. And now I can answer any of their questions. Their first question was, what's the size of the colony after 2 days? Well, after 2 days, my formula plugs in 2 for time, right? And you get your calculators out. I've already gotten my calculator out, and they say round to the nearest whole number. So I'm approximating, agreed? So when I approximate, I end up with approximately 1,140 mosquitoes. Good? Cool. And then they asked me a second question. And their second question is this: how long is it going to take until we have 80,000 mosquitoes? Yeah, I don't really want 80,000 mosquitoes, but you get the point. So 80,000 mosquitoes, how long is it going to take until we get that amount? The 80,000 mosquitoes represents our ending balance, doesn't it? So I'm going to fill it in, and when they say how long, it looks like I'm looking for the T. Okay, so time to do your algebra. Divide both sides by 1,000. So I get 80 equals e raised to the T times that natural log. To get rid of the base e, got to do the same thing we did over here, right? I got to take the natural log on both sides. So my next line looks like the natural log of 80 equals T times the natural log of 1.2. And then finally, we divide both sides, don't we? By the natural log of 1.2. Cool? Okay, so you get your calculator. I'll get mine. I've already done my work. I already have my answer. And I ended up with, and I'm rounding to the nearest whole day, I ended up with, it takes approximately 24 days to get 80,000 mosquitoes. Okay, looks like I might be moving in those 24 days. Anyway, stay tuned. I got another